Welcome to the Art of Living Free series with Anthony Silard. We would love your support to keep these valuable videos and podcasts free for everyone. To make a donation, please visit theartoflivingfree.org. 100% of all proceeds go to nonprofit education programs. Today, Dr. Silard continues to explore whether we enjoy our phones or really feel trapped by them. Part 2.
Hello, I'm Anthony Silard and welcome to the Art of Living Free. So the question is, how are we going to use our phones so we don't feel trapped by them? Well, this is not going to be easy because today, what many psychologists are calling our phones, the psychologists I interviewed in my book, Screened In, are like comfort objects. They're like adult pacifiers, right? So think about that stuffed animal, or for me, I had a little blanket that you cling to when you were a little kid. That's like our phone now. I mean, we pull them out, we look at them all the time. Do you know that every day we touch our phones over 2,600 times? So I was just in a taxi the other day. The driver would literally, I wasn't sure if he was looking at the road more or at his phone. He kept, he's checking the music, leaving WhatsApp messages for people, and so forth. I mean, that's how many of us are today. We're constantly tethered to our phones. In fact, Florida State University communication professor Russell Clayton has alluded to the phone as an extended self. It's becoming a part of ourselves. If we're touching our phones over 2,600 times daily, and some of us, over 10%, are touching our phones over 5,400 times every single day, what are we going to do? If we feel trapped by them, of course, because our lives are becoming mediated by our phones. Well, this is kind of dangerous. There's some research that shows the mere presence of a phone. Like, let's suppose you're having lunch with a friend, just having that phone on the table, and you're going to enjoy that interaction less. You're going to start to feel stressed because your phone reminds you of all the things that you've got to do. I had lunch with a friend the other day and he had the phone on the table and I had to mention that study to him, and of course he probably was thinking, I don't think I'm going to have lunch with you again. But fortunately he finally put his phone away, and we started to have a meaningful conversation, because up until then it was just he was clearly distracted. Now, when we point the finger at others, we got 3 pointed back at ourselves, right? I do it too, we all do it. But how are we going to overcome this? How are we going to use these wonderful glowing screens and not become addicted to them? Here are a few strategies that I share in my book, Screened In, The Art of Living Free in the Digital Age. One would be to make a decision about how much time per day you're going to spend on your phone. So, in fact, a lot of the recommendations from psychologists are that if you keep it to an hour or less per day, it doesn't become this addictive, doesn't become so pathological. But how would we do that, right? Because we use them all the time. We need them for everything. How are we going to use our phones less than an hour per day? And by the way, whatever amount of time you want to use it per day, what I'm proposing to you is not that it's 1 hour, not that it's 10 minutes, half an hour, or 2 hours. What I'm proposing is that you make the decision based on your life vision for how you want to live your life. Right? So there's a Japanese proverb which says, vision without action is a daydream. Action without vision is a nightmare. That's what most of us are living, this nightmare, because we're acting all the time, we're on our phones all the time, and we don't have any vision or values guiding that. We're just letting our phones control us. And then at the end of the day, how do we feel? Well, let's take a look. Loneliness. Loneliness is now up to where over 3 in 5 Americans feel lonely, based on the UCLA loneliness scale. A Cigna study came out January 2020 showing that. Anxiety has skyrocketed. Depression, mental health issues. You can look at almost any negative, dysfunctional, social or intrapersonal indicator you want, and since that 2007 Steve Jobs speech and the iPhone being released, now there's over 1.5 billion iPhones in use in the world, or that have been sold since 2007. So some of them are not being used anymore. But if you look at any of those, you're going to see this huge increase in school shootings, huge increase in loneliness, depression, anxiety, mental health issues, self-harm, right? Young girls between 2009, 2015. So starting 2 years after the release of the first iPhone, every single year, 18% increase in self-harm and emergency visits to the emergency room in hospitals. Suicide, for the first time in US history, the teen suicide rate is higher than the teen homicide rate. Teens are not out there killing each other as much as they used to. They're at home killing themselves. When, for example, someone's looking at their phone and they're in a chat with other kids from school, and then some of the popular kids say, hey, why don't you join our group chat? They join, they get made fun of for like a minute or two, and then they get kicked out, right? And then there they are staring at their four walls and just feeling depressed. And, you know, rejection, ostracism, especially for teens, for kids and teens, is extremely hard to deal with. So all of this is what's happening with our phones. So how can we deal with that? Again, let your vision for how you want to use your phone guide how you use it. So decide how much time you're going to use it per day. The next strategy I want to share is to take notifications off your phone, take all those buzzing and noises off, so that you can choose when you're going to check your messages. And I would say, since you're not getting notifications, and you're going to say, well, what about the badges? You know, I pick up my phone and it's like my text app or my WhatsApp or Instagram, Facebook is saying I've got 12 messages. How am I not going to check that? You're right. That produces a lot of anxiety. So here's the trick. Don't see it. You got like 8 or 9 or 10 screens on your phone. Take those apps that are addictive and move them to the final screen, what I call and screened in my book, The Heart of Darkness. And you got to swipe 8 or 9 times to get to that screen and agree with yourself, okay, I'm going to check those addictive apps once or twice per day at certain times, and that's it. And you check them, you go, oh, you know what, I've been waiting all day for this, and it's really not that interesting. It's not so captivating as I thought. So those are a couple of strategies. The last one I'll share for today would be have a basket when you go have family lunches or dinners or meals with friends. Put your phones, turn the ringer off, buzzers off, put it in a basket away from the table, and go sit and have an unmediated face-to-face interaction. In fact, there's tremendous amount of research showing that just having family dinner each night, literally kids that have at least 5 family dinners per week, if you compare them with those that have 1 or 2 family dinners per week, you name it, they have sex with less people, less drugs, better grades, better performance on SATs. It just goes on and on. We as human beings, we need caring, compassionate, empathetic interaction with others. And we need to find ways to do that and still use our phones for all these wonderful things that they do, but have limits on that and be able to control it. So we direct the way we use our phones rather than our phones directing us.
Life offers us many challenges, and theartoflivingfree.org offers new ways of thinking so we can see these challenges from a new angle and overcome them. Whether it's Anthony Silard's free blog, video or podcast series, his book, Screened In, The Art of Living Free in the Digital Age, or personalized courses, theartoflivingfree.org will help you refine your life vision and then transform it into action. Find out more at theartoflivingfree.org.